everyone, my name is Dillon Gonzalez. I'm the editorial director for GeekVibesNation.com and also a co-host of the Home Dance Film Festival podcast. And I am thrilled to be here with you once again for a brand new episode of the Video Attic New Released Roundup. Now, typically, I have my colleague Michael Vaughn here and we go back and forth talking about all the latest new releases, but Michael is taking a week off. Fret not, they will be back again next week. But for now, I have a deep backlog of titles that I'm very excited to work through and show off to you. So much so that I'm not going to spend a ton of time on each title, but there's a lot of great stuff this week, and I just thought I'd take this opportunity, being solo, to really dig into a lot of really fun things. So I'm going to start off with a quartet of titles from OCN Distribution partner labels, and the first one is from ETR Media. And this is one that I picked specifically to start off on because I think it exemplifies everything we pretty much stand for with the Video Attic, and that is everything to entertain you, the story of video headquarters. This is an appreciation documentary piece on basically the value of community and physical media in like a physical space. I know everything's turned to digital in terms of commerce pretty much the last few years, but if you can get a special space where cinephiles and other like casual movie fans can gather to speak about movies, I think that's really special, and that's what is exemplified in this documentary. It's kind of a scrappy endeavor. It's from a first-time filmmaker who happened to be working at the store at the time that this was happening. It deals with the video headquarters store in New Hampshire, which closed, I believe, in 2016. And this is in the waning days of this one of the largest independent video rental stores that existed for over 30 years. And this is in the documenting from the last few months is where it's kind of basically frameworked, but it goes back to the original early days of the store and tells how it like grew and like became such an important part of this community, and just you get to learn a little bit more about the man who founded it and all the workers, and just kind of how this became bigger than just like a place where you go to rent movies. It's a place for community. And it's about an hour long. It's not quite your normal like feature length. It's a feature length documentary, but it's just an hour long. But it kind of it doesn't really need to be more for this particular story. And I think yes, there is with like a first time filmmaker who never really set out to be a filmmaker at the beginning, you can kind of see some of the deficiencies a little bit in some of the storytelling aspects, but it's made up for in kind of the heart of the story, and just like knowing where this is coming from, you can kind of forgive some of the like not so precise technical elements, or some of the like maybe not as like a deep dive. It is more of an appreciation piece than like a deep dive and like looking at things from all sides type of thing. But sometimes you just want that, and that is what this delivers. It's a really special place that you can, like, I develop my love of movie and movie rental places and places similar to video headquarters, and it's just such an entertaining documentary just to see this piece of movie history kind of dissolve in front of your eyes, but just kind of see what it was in its heyday and just how it impacted this community. It's really great. And this Blu-ray is really good. It's a high definition master, looks great, DTS 2.0 audio. It's not too ambitious sonically, but everything is perfectly clear. There's some really cool visual graphics on here that it actually ties into the special features, because the title graphics editor, you get an interview with him. You also get a audio commentary with the director, another like 16-minute interview with the director who tells you a little bit more about the process, an interview with the composer, the full unedited interview that is used with the founder of Video Headquarters, Ken, that is given here. It's about 63 minutes long, so you can kind of see the full range of what you get in pieces throughout the documentary. There's also like an 80-minute Zoom call, 84-minute Zoom call with some of the key people who worked at the store included, and then a 41-minute audio interview that was conducted on a radio station in New Hampshire with the director. There's also a really cool 23-minute interview with Justin LaLiberty, who runs or is one of the main people at Vinegar Syndrome / OCN Distribution. So the person who is helping distribute this movie also contributed an interview, and he's recently launched his cinematography sub-label, which I've had Little Darlings and Red Rock West, which I talked about recently. So to get his kind of perspective on both the industry side of boutique labels and his love of video stores as well, it was also very valuable. So a really nice, well-rounded package here. So if you are with any of these OCN distribution titles, if you want it to be a little bit more special, you can go to typically the label's website or OCN Distribution / Vinegar Syndrome's website and get an exclusive slipcover for slipcover fanatics, but you can also just get this standard edition. So everything to entertain you. This is a really fun documentary. My next partner label title is through Deaf Crocodile, who's been doing some fantastic work even these early months of 2024, and that is Bubble Bath. It's another animated animation oddity that's been uncovered by the label, and it's a lot of fun. This is from Hungary, and this happened to be the director's only feature film because he died of leukemia a little bit after releasing this film. But this is in terms of his legacy, this is a pretty cool special feature. It's kind of difficult to, well, not super difficult to explain, but it's very unique in how it presents stuff. It's a little bit of a musical, it's a melodrama, it's a romance kind of. It kind of starts off with a man who is planning to get married, kind of having a panic attack and going over to his wife's friend's apartment and kind of unloading his anxieties upon her. And she's a medical student, and just she's kind of studying for her tests and stuff, and they kind of develop an interesting relationship, and there's a lot of musical songs sprinkled throughout, including songs about medicinal things, which I think is a really fun flourish. But then there's a lot of interesting lyrics and musical styles, and there's kind of Roxy music style, and then psychedelic trippy visuals that are swirling in and out of each other, and really vibrant colors. And there's just this undercurrent of regret and trying to figure out what you want from life. That is a big part of what this guy is going through, and wondering maybe is the grass greener on the other side with this other woman who's his fiance's friend, and how that eventually shakes out. I will not spoil, but it's really nuanced, and this is an adult, not super explicit, but an adult animated film that deals with real issues, but in an interesting kind of psychedelic way. So Bubble Bath is a really fun discovery. It's been given a new restoration by the Hungarian Film Institute, and it looks fantastic on Blu-ray. This is given a David McKenzie Fidelity in Motion encode, and it looks really great. That they're one of the best in the business. If you know anything about boutique label encoding. But it's a really great encode. Sounds really great, especially for this being slightly a musical. It's very rich sounds. You don't get any dropouts or hissing or anything like that. And then you have a good number of special features, including a commentary by Sam Deegan, who I really love. She always has the best commentary tracks, in my opinion. There's also a 5 short films from the director, so you can get kind of his whole kind of output basically on this disc, and the shorts are pretty interesting. There's a lot of different styles within that. There's a 7-minute interview with the composer, about an 8-minute piece on the restoration efforts from the Hungarian Film Archive. This is a really cool discovery. So Bubble Bath, if you've been keeping up with Deaf Crocodile and you've been seeing all the animation that they've been releasing, this is another great effort. I've loved everything they've been putting out. They're one of my favorite labels that I look forward to their announcements every month. So really excited about that one. My next one was a welcome addition to my collection, because I really like this family group of filmmakers called the Addams Family, with one D, not two. And their latest is Where the Devil Roams. I previously covered one of their efforts, The Deeper You Dig, which came out from Arrow Video a couple years ago. And that was a really interesting one, and I've been kind of tracking their career, doing stuff on, seeing a lot of their stuff at film festivals, and they've been getting a lot more acclaim for, it's just kind of like a family affair, like a father, a mom, and like their daughters, and just how they kind of all come together, and they all kind of do a little bit of the directing and like production design. It's all kind of handcrafted to some really interesting impact, but it's also... they're not working with a huge budget, and that's kind of the charm of what they do. Their stuff isn't perfect, but I don't think they're meant to be. They kind of have that shaggy dog quality that you kind of appreciate when you're having like DIY filmmaking, and there are certain things I will forgive for someone who's kind of doing something very ambitious on a very limited budget, and they get a lot. Like, when you see some of the behind the scenes production stuff on this film, you can see that they were literally like banging like pieces of wood together, like nailing wood together, and just kind of hastily putting things together. But how it kind of renders on the screen, there's a lot more bang for your buck than you would expect. The basic plot of this one is it's set in like Depression era, like post World War I. Carnival life, where there's like these carnival people who they're a family, but they're also murderers, and they're gonna go around killing people and trying to deal with their past trauma. Like there's a lot of a through line of like familial trauma, and how like what it means to be a family, and how that kind of manifests. So it's kind of a dark carnival film with like murder and interesting family dynamics, and there's also kind of some supernatural elements going on as well. And it's not the best horror movie I've seen in like the recent past, but it is one I really admire, and there's a lot of really genuinely like upsetting imagery regarding like severed hands, and like trying to stitch people back together, and just how like this is a very unsettling movie. It's just there's certain aspects of maybe like some of the script, like some dialogue delivery, and certain like filmmaking things where, yeah, it's not perfect, but once again, this is very DIY filmmaking, and is one I admire, and I kind of give the family, they have my respect of what they're able to pull off. Even if it's not like a 10 out of 10 movie, it's really entertaining, and I'm very interested in everything they put out. And this is a good Blu-ray from Yellow Veil Pictures. It's a good HD transfer. This is also a Tubi original, and so I think you can find this on Tubi if you want to sample this before you buy. And there's a good number, there's an hour-long behind-the-scenes featurette, which really delves deep into like all the aspects of this, and it's a really great behind-the-scenes featurette. There's a 7-minute additional short film from the family that is worth a watch, and like some trailers. So Yellow Veil Pictures did a nice job with this one. My final partner label is IFC Films, which is one of my favorite not studios, but one of my favorite companies releasing movies, and they have been for a couple of decades. And this is one that I'd actually missed when it was released in the early 2010s. This is Simon Killer, from director Antonio Campos, who he's done some really interesting movies, including Christine, which is a really kind of contained drama that has Rebecca Hall in it, and she's really good as that. You should seek that out. But this earlier work, Simon Killer, you have Brady Corbett, who is also a director I really enjoy. I enjoyed his film Vox Lux very much. I'm probably one of the few, but I really liked it. Brady, he plays the titular Simon, who he's a recent graduate who you can tell there's a little bit of darkness in his past, and he heads over to France and to kind of leave his past behind. And while there, he kind of ingratiates himself into a like a strip club, sex worker type joint. For this woman played by Maddie Diop, who has also become a accomplished filmmaker of her own with Atlantics. And it's a portrait of this man who is, you can tell, is very calculating and he's good at kind of manipulating people to get what he wants and kind of getting people on his side. And just kind of, it's a dark exploration of him manipulating this woman who works at this club, who he eventually ends up moving in with her, and kind of the dark path he leads her down, and how he the way his character evolves is really interesting and dark, and there's just a lot of just unsettling psychological stuff going on, which I think is very effective. And Brady Corbett does a really nice job. All the performers do a really nice job. It's very dreamily shot by Campos. There's a lot of just like, this really has a strong eye towards perspective and just kind of visuals. And there's a whole the essay that's included in the booklet kind of delves into that pretty deeply. And some of the special features also kind of delve into kind of the imagery of the movie. And there's a lot of great special features. This was never released on Blu-ray before, just DVD. So you're getting this in HD, and you're also getting a lot of new features, including a commentary with Corbett, Brady Corbett, and Antonio Campos. You also get an additional video conversation with them that runs about 15 minutes. There's some older supplements that you probably haven't seen before, including like a 30-minute interview with Campos about like cinematography. There's a Sundance Q&A with him and a couple other directors, conducted by Chris Gethard, who's a comedian I really enjoy. And then another short film. There's a really good number of special features here. And so yeah, Simon Killer, it's a really, really good release from IFC Films. Worth checking out. Going into a different kind of unsettling kind of vibe is the final season release of AMC's Fear the Walking Dead. Now, this is a show I've talked about on this show previously, but this is the final season. It's the 8th season, 3 discs for, I believe it's 12 episodes we got here. This is a show that's really run hot and cold with me. There's been it started off kind of uneven, then it kind of bloomed into something kind of interesting, and then uneven, then a little bit interesting, and this season kind of brings things back to kind of like what were they thinking territory. There are interesting elements. This has a time jump from the previous season, about 7 years, and you get to see the return of some characters, sometimes in an unbelievable fashion. You get to see the departure of certain characters, and there's just a lot about this is kind of wheel spinning and kind of just nonsensical stuff going on. And just a lot of the time it seems like you're wondering why these actors are just kind of coasting along to the end. The finale is satisfying on a level, but this is a show that probably should have ended a while ago. So this last season, there are interesting moments, but more often than not, it just kind of exemplifies kind of the uneven quality of the series at large. And there are no special features to kind of bring it full circle, unfortunately. It's just the series in good high definition, great sound, but for completeness sakes, it's a fine release, but this final season doesn't really make the show like ascend to new heights. It's just kind of, it is what it is. It's not a great show, but it had moments of greatness. This next release is from Warner Brothers. It is their new 4K release of Contagion from Steven Soderbergh. I had never seen this before, and I kind of dreaded watching this based on what it is. It is kind of in this or we're in the midst of COVID, but in this COVID world, it is interesting to go back and see this early 2010s depiction of what a pandemic would look like. And as someone who is still being very cautious about these things, it's not exactly fun to kind of compare and contrast into like how this handled things compared to how the real world handled things. But Steven Soderbergh is such a master of his craft that he makes it worth watching for me. And there's a lot of great performers in here. And it is just showing like the early days of a virus and how it spreads, and how like the realities of like CDC trying to mitigate things, but also public panic and misinformation and people trying to capitalize on things. There's all that in here, all played by great actors, including Gwyneth Paltrow, which she is one of the main reasons my main issues with the movie. How they handle women in this movie is atrocious. But otherwise, I don't have that many problems with the movie. Matt Damon is in here, Jude Law, so many, Bryan Cranston is in this. So many great performers are in here. Lawrence Fishburne, Kate Winslet. I wish the women had been kind of given more to do and not written to be like so awful. And kind of like, it's almost like they caused the pandemic, which is insane. But otherwise, this is a pretty decent movie, and this 4K release, it's been remastered in 4K under the supervision of Soderbergh. This looks fantastic on 4K. Standard HDR 10, no Dolby Vision, but HDR looks nice. It has this typical Soderbergh color filters, so there's a lot of like icy blues and like golden yellows and stuff. But it looks really nice. It gets the nuances in HDR. And DTS 5.1 sound, not new like Atmos or anything, but perfectly solid sound. 3 featurettes that were ported over from the previous Blu-ray. As you saw, it's just the 4K release. There's no Blu-ray, so make sure you're 4K capable if you're getting this one. But it's a really good release of a movie that's not exactly enjoyable to watch, but if you're a fan or if you haven't gotten this and you want to see it in the best presentation, this 4K release will not let you down. My next release is from a burgeoning boutique label that I really enjoy, Film Masters. This is The Swiss Conspiracy. This is kind of interesting pseudo-spy tale of a Swiss bank that is being blackmailed, and it's kind of a whodunit of trying to figure out what is going on in this this banking, like in Switzerland, and people trying to take advantage of others. And there's a lot of great performers in here, including David Jansen. Who else we got? John Ireland, John Saxon, Ray Milland, Arthur Bross. This is pretty solid. It's not like, it didn't blow me away, but it's an entertaining kind of European spy intrigue thriller-ish. Good performances, decent intrigue, direction is really cool. I learned a lot about this director through the special features. There's a couple different supplements on him. One that's more of a direct documentary on him, and then one is like a visual essay on his kind of like his style and everything. So there's 2 different cool supplements on him. And then there's also a commentary track from some film historians it's pretty cool. The visual essay, I forgot to mention, is 29 minutes long. The documentary is 15 minutes long. And audiovisual wise, this is from a 4K scan of the 35mm archival elements. It's not perfect. There's some deficiencies and kind of like not being from the original camera negative. But it's a really good looking release, all things considered. It's just some softness here and there, but overall it looks very nice. It's a very tasteful presentation of the movie. And the sound there's some age here and there, but overall, once again, pretty solid. So The Swiss Conspiracy from Film Masters, it is worth checking out. If you've liked the other stuff that Film Masters has released, they keep up the quality. But yeah, it's worth checking out if you kind of like the European like thriller intrigue type thing. My next one is a catalog title from Paramount. This is Leap of Faith with Steve Martin and Deborah Winger. And there's also Liam Neeson plays a sheriff who is very suspicious of Steve Martin and his band of merry men and women. He plays a very oily preacher who runs into town, and it's very obvious that he is manipulating people who come to his services, and really is just trying to fleece them for money, but also doing it on a very high level of like technological like surveillance. And to where he can be speaking as like the voice of God, but like knowing things that he shouldn't know, but just usually it's just using like surveillance and trying to intuition. And he's very good, kind of a con man. And this is a movie about that. It's not strictly comedic, like you would expect most Steve Martin movies. It balances kind of more of the heartfelt with the comedic. He is a very charismatic character, but it's also him kind of also starting to wrestle a little bit with whether or not he feels guilty enough about what he was doing to stop doing so. And it's a really good movie. I really liked it, and it's a really entertaining one. It's not one of his like absolute best, but it's one of his more underrated ones that I think is very much worth checking out. This Blu-ray, it comes from an older source, like an older master, but it looks fine. There's some softness. It would really look nice with a remaster, but for being from an older source, it does a job. This is kind of relatively cheap, and for these kind of older titles that Paramount doesn't really put a lot of like care into, it does fine. There's no special features. Audio is decent, but it's just a bare bones release of a movie in HD, which otherwise may have been kind of more lost. And I'm glad it is on Blu-ray, even if it is not ideal. It's pretty solid. Kind of similarly, this one's from Universal. This is A Story of Us from Rob Reiner, who has given us classics such as like When Harry Met Sally, Misery, Spinal Tap. He is a great director, but this is not one of his better works. I was especially excited about this because my wife and I are going through kind of a Michelle Pfeiffer year, and we're trying to work through her catalog. So very excited to see her. But this is a very frustrating tale of a couple who is like kind of a little bit like quite a ways into their marriage, and they're starting to have their typical marital problems of like she's not spontaneous enough, and he is kind of forgetful and doesn't help with the chores and the kids and stuff, and he's always a good guy. It's all the typical marital spat stuff, and you get to flashback to where they came from, how they met, and where they got to where they were, and they kind of try to work things out of what they're going to do with their lives while their kids are away at camp. And that's kind of like, it's like a relationship drama or comedy, drama, romance, trying to fall back in love with one another. But what is frustrating, while they try to keep it balanced a little bit of like who is at fault, but really, whenever you're watching this, Bruce Willis is absolutely at fault. You bag a baddie like Michelle Pfeiffer, and you don't like help her to like stay in the mood, like when you're trying to like get like have a romantic moment with her, or you like she's like underwater with like responsibilities, and you're not trying to help her to like to offload her mental burden. What is going wrong with you? Bruce Willis, he's kind of like a goofball, and you just kind of, I got frustrated with him whenever it's like, just help your wife and things will be great and your marriage will be good. And I didn't like, he has almost a moment of redemption, but then the movie kind of like loses its way because it's the 90s, and it just kind of all puts things on like her having to like apologize for how she is, which there's nothing wrong with her. But enough about that. The movie is a little bit irritating. There are interesting moments. I like the performers, and so that makes it watchable. But mostly it's just very frustrating because it is very steeped in 90s kind of man-woman dynamics. And if you're coming at this from a modern perspective, it's just very frustrating to see how easy this man gets away with stuff. But the Blu-ray also, from an older master, it gets the job done, but it has that universal kind of process look that they were famous for with some of their older masters. This has never been remastered to look even better, so it has a little bit of some digital sheen to it, and like just it looks just slightly off and like a slightly soft, but it's passable. It's fine. There's an audio commentary track from Rob Reiner, and then like a Spotlight on Location vintage featurette that's both ported over from the old DVD. If you like the performers, it's still worth checking out if you're not as bothered by like outdated like relationship dynamics, you'll probably like it. But I was kind of irritated by it. This next release, I've been working on this for a while, and I'm obviously not through it. It is a TV show. It is a complete series of Gomer Pyle, USMC. Yes, Gomer Pyle from the Andy Griffith Show, enlisting in the Marines for 5 seasons and doing pretty much the same thing throughout, but still finding new ways to make it funny. There are 150 episodes in this. I did not watch all 150 episodes. I'm only human. I can only do so much within like a few weeks time period. I did check out a lot of episodes from each individual season, and all I can say is it's a very entertaining show. If you like the Gomer Pyle character, it is him kind of bringing his naivete to the United States military and kind of sending his instructors up a wall, but also him kind of being out of touch with what reality is, impacts like his fellow soldiers and everything. It's a funny show. It's a fish out of water tale. Jim Nabors, he is very funny as Gomer, and it's a comfort show. And this was like, it aired kind of around the time of Vietnam, but it's not like a hard hitting expose. It never even really. It's not about that. It is about Gomer being in this situation and kind of being a goofball but lovable, and it works as like kind of mindless entertainment that it is. And like I said, 150 episodes over 5 seasons. I'll kind of give you a brief look at all the seasons. So got season 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and they all look pretty much the same interior wise. So I'll just show that real quick. You got these hubs here. There's like 4 discs per season, and these were previously remastered and presented on DVD. It's the same remasters put on Blu-ray. Looks very nice. There are small deficiencies here and there, but this is a really fantastic looking series. With these being presented previously on DVD, people who know about the show might know that there were certain moments that were cut for music clearance issues, where like Gomer would be singing a song. They had to cut that out because they did not have the rights to the song. That is still the case with the Blu-ray release. So anything you saw on the DVD that was cut, you can safely assume that was also cut for the Blu-ray. But other than that, it's a really nice presentation. A few special features, not much, mostly on the first season. There's like a commentary, and then like the original pilot, which was one of the like season 4 finale, I believe, of the Andy Griffith Show is included here as well. And then like a vintage sales presentation clip. Not too much in the way, but overall, it's just really nice to have this looking so great on Blu-ray. It really surprised me when it was announced it was coming to Blu-ray, but I love that CBS/Paramount has been treating their vintage shows with respect. The like Andy Griffith shows also on Blu-ray, Hogan's Heroes, Mission Impossible, tons of great old shows that it's worth checking out if you're a fan of them, because they've been doing a really nice job. And it's relatively inexpensive for the value that you get. If you would have purchased all the original DVDs individually, they would cost more than this Blu-ray is running right now. Pretty much the rest of my titles are Kino-centric titles, so I'm just going to go down a long list of Kino titles that I've been working through. I'm sticking on the TV train. I'm trying to make a smooth transition with the 3rd and 4th seasons of Monk, which aired on USA. One of the most popular USA shows. I've talked about this before. It is about a obsessive compulsive detective. So Tony Shalhoub is Adrian Monk, who uses his kind of powers of perception to kind of solve cases every week, but then he's also kind of hindered and helped by his kind of OCD tendencies, and he's also kind of plagued by like the murder of his wife, and he's he has like a helper who, that's the biggest kind of change in these seasons. Halfway through this 3rd season, we have Sharona leave the show, and Natalie comes in as his new helper. So I think most fans can agree that the early Sharona seasons were the better seasons. But Natalie, she has her own charms. She is not as like ball busting kind of as like she doesn't call Monk out quite as much, but she's still a really nice addition to the show, and I don't think the dip in quality is that much that you would really like want to bail from the show. It's still a really fun show. Both of these have 16 episodes and on 4 discs, and they look really nice. These have been remastered from a 4K restoration. Really beautiful looking Blu-ray disc, and they look crisp, clean, natural film grain has been retained. That's what you want. And the vintage featurettes on each season have been ported over as well. So if you're a Monk fan, they're continuing good work. Like I said, I've talked about the series previously, but they're committed to releasing all the seasons. I believe there are 8 total. So we're halfway through. Look, riding pretty so far. So Monk season 3 and 4 definitely. If you're a fan of the show, it's fantastic. My next title is actually a re-release. I believe, I'm not sure if this came with a slipcover originally, but this is OSS 117, the 5-film collection. This is a French film series that kind of is almost like a take on James Bond, is the easiest way for me to say. Spy stuff going on in exotic locations. And this is fun. There's two films on this disc, 2 films on this disc, and the last film on this disc. Altogether, I really enjoy these films. The first film is in black and white. The rest of the 4 are in color. Some films are better than others. There's some actor changes here and there, but overall, in terms of like sheer entertainment and like the spy genre, it's perfectly entertaining. I quite enjoyed myself, and I tried to break it up, not to do back-to-back with like some other movies, but overall, if you do watch these back-to-back, there's a good enough variety in locales and talent involved that it's going to keep you entertained. So this was previously released in, I believe it was 2017, yes. And while some of the Kino encodes, or some of the Kino re-releases in like the past year have given like new expanded encodes or new like maybe like new like commentary tracks or special features or anything, these are the exact same disc as released in 2017. That being said, they look really nice. So I'm glad that I'm like able to check this out now. You get a slipcover, but if you own this previously, unless you're just a slipcover fiend and you do not have one, you probably don't need to rebuy this. But if you haven't checked it out yet and you like a good spy series, worth checking out. My next release is a 4K release from Kino for the Boogens. And this, first off, the quality of the movie. I enjoyed it. It's a creature feature that focuses more so on the characters. It's a classic tale of a mine shaft that was previously kind of covered up for has a mysterious past, gets unearthed, and then lets loose these creatures, and chaos ensues. So but what I really like about this is you do spend a good amount of time on the 4 main characters, and how it kind of like takes you to the final. So I like how long it stays with the characters, so whenever anything potentially happens to them, you care a bit more about what happens to them. And the creature design is very interesting. It's very very fluid, and like it's a little bit of a hodgepodge of different kind of core tenets of like movie creature filmmaking, but it's very interesting. How is this 4K? Not great. One of the weaker 4K transfers I've seen from Kino, like 4K Ultra HD releases. Something went a little bit awry. The colors are they're off. They're like, the highlights are a little bit blown out. The colors are like desaturated. I think there was something weird with the master, and I'm not sure why Kino just decided to roll with it, but there's just like the blacks are crushed. It's just there are things that look nice about it. It's not like a garbage fire, but it is definitely one of the weaker 4K trans. And I typically really like Kino, and I call them out whenever I see something bad. But this is just, it's not up to their standards I expect from them. And if you have the old Olive release, I've heard some people say they prefer that. It's kind of a mixture of what people feel, but personally, I don't have that release. I'm glad to have the movie. I just wish that the 4K like the 4K presentation looked better, because it is from a 4K scan of the original camera negative, and it should look better than it does, and it's just a little bit of a disappointment. This is a Paramount licensed title. Maybe that has something to do with it. Anyone who knows the show knows that Paramount can mess up something really quickly. But even in Dolby Vision, which I watch this in, it doesn't save things. Like sometimes the Dolby Vision layer can kind of help things out. It doesn't really. It does have some nice special features. There are 2 commentary tracks, a 19-minute interview, and some like some trailers and stuff. Overall, I can't fully recommend this if you don't have it and you just want to test it out. It's passable, but I don't know. It's a bit of a disappointment. So the Boogens, at your own risk. A little bit happier note, going back to some better work. This is from Kino, and this is Let's Dance with Fred Astaire and Betty Hutton. It's a later Fred Astaire joint, but he's still moving like a younger man. But Betty Hutton plays a war widow in this, and with a young son, and she is partners with Fred Astaire's character, who's quite a bit older than her, which leads into some of my concerns with this movie. The romance between these characters isn't really there, and where this plot takes them, it kind of requires them to get together, but it is just her husband, her deceased husband's family is trying to kind of take like custody of her young son because they think they can provide him a better life, rather than like kind of the showbiz backstage lifestyle that she is providing him. But she's just trying to better her life and try to provide. She's a really good mother, but the in-laws, they're just trying to mess things up, and Fred Astaire is kind of there to act as kind of a friend, confidant, but also eventually a romantic partner who can kind of like give her like her son a male figure to look up to and stuff. It's not the best, but it's entertaining enough. There's some good musical moments. I really like Betty Hutton in this one, who people might know from like Annie Get Your Gun. And I like her dynamic with her son. That's basically where the heart of the movie is. The romance with Fred Astaire, not so much, but it doesn't ruin the movie. And they don't try to overly focus on that. It is more so the relationship with the young son, but it's a lesser Fred Astaire, but it's worth checking out nonetheless. Let's Dance is funny, has a good sense of community, like with like her entertainment band of like friends and family and stuff. I enjoyed it. So this comes from a 2019 HD master provided by Paramount. This is an example of Paramount doing a better job. It does a really nice job with the Technicolor elements. It doesn't look as precise as something like a Warner Archive Technicolor release, but it looks good. It does come with an audio commentary track from Lee Gambin, which is very informative. It's very nice. So overall, if you're a Fred Astaire fan, Let's Dance is a good one. Getting into some adventure films, my next one is Alaska Seas. This is actually a remake of an earlier title. I think Spawn of the North, which is a George Raff, Henry Fonda title from the 30s. This has Robert Ryan, Jan Sterling, Brian Keith, and Gene Barry. Robert Ryan does what he does best, is kind of playing a little bit of a creep. He is coming in to visit a friend, and after kind of being away for a long time, who happens to be with a girl that he was interested in, and he's coming back to be with the girl, and he learns that his friend is with the girl, and that does not deter him. But at the same time, there's like all this stuff going on with like they're fishermen, and like there's people trying to like bandits trying to like abscond with like certain fishing spots and stuff, and there's all kinds of drama, like fisherman drama, like it's fun. So yeah, that's the reversible cover art. This is pretty fun. I enjoyed it. It's an unusual tale. It is kind of like kind of high adventure drama, almost noirish title, but set in Alaska, which is a fun change of space. So this looks really nice. This has been remastered by Paramount Pictures in HD. Looks good. It does come with an audio commentary track from David Del Valle and Stan Schaefer. Overall, good release, double-sided art, which is fun. My next adventure film is Man-Eater from Kumaon and Kumaon. So this has a Wendell Corey playing a man who is kind of over, I believe, is it India? I believe it is. And yeah, India. He's a doctor who he is out on a hunting expedition one time, and he shoots a tiger in the paw, and the people like of the village basically implore him to seek out the tiger, take him out, because otherwise the tiger's gonna come back and fuck shit up. And he kind of dismisses the idea, and the tiger does just that. He starts coming back, terrorizing the village, and everyone has to kind of reckon with what is going on. And it's just like an interesting adventure tale of just like not messing with nature, and just Sabu and Joanne Page, they kind of play a couple who are trying to help Wendell Corey out of his predicament, and it leads to some very thrilling moments with a tiger. Anytime the tiger's on screen, those are the best moments. Otherwise, it's a little bit inconsistent narratively. It's not. It's only 79 minutes long, so it doesn't overstay its welcome. But it's just not the most fascinating movie. But anytime the tiger's on screen, thumbs up, A+. Really enjoyed that. But yeah, if you like these types of films, they're not my favorite genre, so maybe you'll respond to it more. Otherwise, it's fine. My next film is James Cagney's Blood on the Sun, where Cagney plays a newspaper man who is over in Japan around Pearl Harbor, I believe, and he learns a dastardly plan that's going to set off like kind of world domination ambition. And he has to kind of like figure out how to stop this potential like attack that is going on. Very problematic in different ways. This is definitely like drawing on like anti-Japanese sentiments, and just like kind of othering them and kind of viewing them as like the enemy. So very much propaganda-ish, but James Cagney does a nice job. If you can set aside like the problematic racial elements, it's a decent film. It's far from the best of what I've talked about this week, but for Cagney completists, it's a fine watch. This is 94 minutes long. It's a nice length. It doesn't feel overly long. This has been remastered by Paramount from 4K scan of 35mm nitrate and elements. It looks really good. I quite like how this looks. It's grain resolved well. Really nice contrast, firm contrast, like no crushed blacks or anything. Overall, good picture. Commentary track from Julie Kurgo and filmmaker Peter Hancock. So, Cagney fans, worth checking out, but just know there are some dated elements. My next one is another re-release similar to OSS 117. This is Burnt Offerings. With Karen Black. This is your classic family moves into a haunted house tale, and the spirit of the house starts impacting their psyches and driving them mad, and there's secrets and stuff. Oliver Reed is also in this. You got him sober long enough to film a movie. And then Bette Davis plays like an aunt character in her later years, and it's great to see Bette Davis. And she's actually given a pretty substantial role compared to some of her later late period roles. So as far as like a infectious house narrative, it's good. I enjoyed it. It's a fun kind of silly movie, but there's some unsettling elements. But yeah, this is carried a lot by the cast, but the filmmaking is pretty solid as well. So anyone who likes a good haunted house tale, Burnt Offerings does a nice job. And I believe this is the exact same encode and release everything as this was first released in 2015. But this does have a good number of special features. So a commentary track, 2 commentary tracks, an interview with some of the performers, an interview with the screenwriter. So I think pretty much the only thing that's added is this nice slipcover and everything. So if you're a slipcover fan, check it out. Especially if you don't own it, it's a nice presentation, but it's worth checking out. Veering slightly into a different kind of sub-label, this is from Kino Cult, and this is Drifter. From Pat Rocco. This is kind of an overlooked gem of queer cinema back from 1974. So this is kind of what the back cover describes as like a West Coast answer to Midnight Cowboy. It is about a drifter who he's bisexual. He's like sleeps with men and women, and he sometimes things turn a little bit violent, but it's just like him getting mixed up in different scenarios and kind of figuring out where his morals lie, and just the complexity of this character is explored in decent depth. It's not. It was fine. I didn't love the movie, but I'm glad it has been rediscovered for people who are interested in Pat Rocco, because it's just a director who never really got a chance at like the mainstream, like especially during this time, you couldn't really do a lot of queer cinema that was going to make a huge impact just because how the country was. But this is a nice rediscovery. This is from a new 2K restoration of this original 16mm AB negatives preserved by the UCLA Film Archives, and it has that 16mm gritty look that you would expect, but it's been cleaned up really well. There's some minor nicks here and there, but overall it's a really nice preserved presentation. An audio commentary track, and 4 short films from Pat Rocco that are a nice value add for this one. So if you're interested in earlier queer cinema, Drifter is fine. Maybe not essential, but it's an interesting watch. My next one is from Kino Classics. This is from their Ernst Lubitsch collection. This is Madame Dubarry, which we've talked about the Madame Dubarry story a couple times on the Video Addict, just through different narratives, because this story's been adapted quite a few times. This is from 1919, so over 100 years old, and it's Lubitsch kind of telling this in a more straightforward way of just this woman who got involved in kind of courtly life through like kind of like romantic encounters and how it eventually led to her ultimate fate. But it's a really well executed silent film. It's not absurdly long. It's an hour and 54 minutes, but they're considering the density of the story, I think they use that time pretty well. The performances are pretty good from Paola Negri, who's been in several of Ernst Lubitsch's films, which we've covered on this channel before. But if you're a fan of silent cinema or Ernst Lubitsch, it's interesting to see where he came from. This is not a super comedic film, but it is well executed. And so this comes with an audio commentary from Lubitsch's historian Joseph McBride. And this has been restored. I believe it was restored quite a while ago in 2001, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 2001 restoration. But they did a really nice job back then, and it's over 100 years old, so you have to give it some leeway, but overall it looks very nice. and the original score that's kind of conducted for this, it sounds really nice. My next one's from Raro Video through Kino Distributing. This is The Golden Coach from Jean Renoir. This is a rare English language film from him, and there's also a French audio commentary or audio track that's not in the best shape, but it's been very rarely exhibited, so it's interesting to have that as an option. But I primarily use the English language track. And this is a more theatrically based tale, like a tale of theatrical performers and this woman who kind of gets mixed up in also court intrigue, similar to Madame Dubarry, but not to such tragic results, of like having three men basically compete for her affections. But she is such almost kind of like a no one that's surprising. Like, people are surprised that people are kind of like fighting for her affections. And just the way this kind of evolves, it's very precisely executed, as you would expect from Renoir. But it's not one that really connected with me on an emotional level, but is one I really greatly admire on a visual technical level and like a performance level. And is one that I think might reveal new nuances with further viewings. But on my first viewing, I was left slightly cold emotionally, but I can see the vision. I'm just not quite there. But this is a really nice transfer from Raro Video. This does come from a 2K restoration of the Technicolor Trichrome negative. Now, this has more of a golden sheen, which you kind of expect from some European restoration houses. I'm not sure if that is the intended aesthetic or that is just what the restoration team did. Chime in if you know. But it doesn't look bad. It kind of sucks a lot of the vibrancy of the pictures because there's such like a golden sheen to it. But there's a nice commentary track from film critic Adam Naiman. And overall, it's a nice presentation. I'm not sure about the color grading, but The Golden Coach is golden's in the title, so maybe it was intentional. But overall, it's worth a look, especially if you're a Renoir fan. Speaking of some of those masters, this is from Kino Lorber, and it is the documentary Godard Cinema, along with his final kind of short film, trailer of a film that will never exist, Phony Wars. The main draw of this is the Godard Cinema documentary, which is kind of takes a look at Godard's life, but through another filmmaker's eyes. This is very clip-based, interview-based of people who knew him, and just kind of like exploring his career. It's very standard, but standard isn't the word you really expect from Godard, so it's a little underwhelming in some aspects, and then it kind of gives up at a point in the 80s where I guess the filmmaker didn't think that his later work really deserved such like careful exploration, so that's a little bit underwhelming. But for people who like Godard on like any kind of level, I think it is worth checking out, or if you're interested in his life. It does give you, it's more than just a clip show. You do get like some of his political leanings and kind of his stylistic changes and stuff. He's a fascinating filmmaker. I think he deserves as fascinating of a documentary, and that doesn't quite achieve that, but it is still, it's a passably entertaining documentary. I'll admit, trailer for a film that will never exist. It's very late period Godard, and that means it's very challenging. It's very abstract. It wasn't quite for me. Something I admire way more than I enjoy, but it's good to have here. It's like I said, it's a value add, and there's a really cool supplemental feature, and that is a 10-minute interview with Godard's assistant editor, and she is a very charming lady, and just to hear her journey with Godard over the years, it's really rewarding. Heading into my final stretch of films, I have two more. One is the Kino Classics release of The Road to Shame, French film, and it is an early depiction of sex trafficking. It is about a man whose girlfriend goes off to party at a place and ends up getting like being kidnapped and trying to force into sex slavery, and he has to kind of like try to retrieve her and save her, and he meets some obstacles, and it's a very thrilling movie. But the way this movie opens on like this text of like how we should take sex trafficking seriously is very. It took me by surprise, but I think it's a very worthy note to like set out on. But as a film, it doesn't take it maybe as seriously as you need to, but it is like a French thriller, but made at this time of like 1959. But it's a good movie. I enjoyed it. It's very entertaining. Maybe just not the hard-hitting treatise on sex slavery that maybe they wanted to be, but for this time they were bringing up things, and it's just a really good movie. So this has been given a restoration that looks quite nice, and there's a commentary track. Good release if you are this is from Edward Molinaro, and this is a director, especially after hearing the commentary track. He seems very much underappreciated, and so it's worth checking out some of his work. My final film is a Academy Award nominated foreign language film from I believe it's 2004. I believe this is Sophie Scholl, The Final Days, and so you can maybe, based on this imagery and the title, you can kind of guess as to what this is. This is about a kind of a freedom fighter who was distributing anti-Nazi like pamphlets and got caught, and just kind of her final days being questioned by Nazis, and just kind of like whether or not she would give certain people up, and like what she was fighting for, and kind of how she stood up for herself. I really like this movie. I wanted to end on a high note. This is a really like small scale but like very like enriching drama about standing up against oppression, and like it's filled with great performances, and just it's a very focused look, and I quite enjoyed it. And the ending is very impactful. This comes from a new 4K restoration, and it looks very nice. It's been treated with care, some rich colors within the not too visually ambitious framework, a lot of interiors and interrogation rooms and so on. The audio track is good, a good number of features, including a making of featurette, 13 minutes of deleted scenes. The behind the scenes featurette is 55 minutes long, and there's also some historical interviews of some of the people who like were real life relatives or knew some of the people depicted in this film, and it's intense, but it's very worthwhile, and I'm glad it's on the disc. But Sophie Scholl, The Final Days, it's a very great release, and is a movie that I'm glad it's been put back on my radar, because I was very young during or I was in my teenage years during the time when this was released, and it missed me, but now I'm older, and I now got to catch it, and very much worth checking out. So huge log of titles. Thank you for sticking with me. I hope you found something in here worth exploring. Let me know if there's anything I talked about that you are excited about. If there's something on a future episode you would like me to talk about, make sure to leave that in the comments as well. Like the video, share it to anyone you think might find this interesting at all. If they're a fan of physical media, I would love to have them. Subscribe to the channel. We do this every week. I love talking with Mike every week, going back and forth, and it's a little bit more interactive on those, and there's less titles but more like interesting conversations. And then there's a lot of other great videos on the channel too, so I appreciate anyone who made it to the end. Congratulations, and I thank you so much. But until next week, when we will return for a brand new episode of The Video Addict New Release Roundup, enjoy these movies.